needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleveland, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give them a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store. They got you covered.
Accelerated Graphics and Signs, 101 East Renfro, Sweet C in Burleson, Texas, can handle all of your graphic needs. Need a banner or promotional products for your business? They got you covered. T-shirts and caps for your group. All you need to figure out is if you want them screen printed or embroidered. How about some slick graphics on that hot ride to make you stand out from the crowd? Accelerated Graphics and Signs can handle anything you throw at them. Located at 101 East Renfro Street, Sweet C in Burleson, Texas, go in and see them. Call them at 817-991-0523 or reach them on the web at www.acceleratedgraphics.net. They are loud and proud and want to serve you. Accelerated Graphics.
Hey, there's something you forgot to do. It sure is hot. Are you sweating like a dog? Wait, what? Dogs don't sweat. Oh no, you forgot to get your window tinted. Whether it's the kitchen window that sits in the sun for the hottest part of the day, or you just got new wheels, call Sharp Window Tinting in Burleson. 817-615-9379 or look them up on the web, sharpwindowtint.com.
You are?
I got blocked in the house. So I'm in my other.
Gotcha.
Wow.
The Mama-mobile.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Angelo Rocha. You are listening to Vet for Vets, or if you're watching live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and other streaming services. Like I said, my name is Angelo Rocha, and today we have our returning guest, Bobby Riley.
Hi, guys.
The bald-headed man who is a sexy man.
You'll have to wave again.
Oh,
hi, guys. Thank you, Tiffany, for rescuing us.
Look at that hat. Again. Look at that hat. Hi, everybody who's watching. Look at that hat. Oh, my gosh.
Voila.
Thank you. Thank you, Tiff. Okay, so in case you're wondering what Vet for Vets is, a Vets for Vets or Vet for Vets, Veteran for Veterans. A lot of people, believe it or not, they misconstrue thinking I'm talking about animals because I'm a veteran talking about veterans.
So we're doing cow castration.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly. Some guys probably need castration, but anyway,
we're not getting into that one today.
Yeah, right. So the show, what people ask me, what's the show about? I don't get it. I see you talking, interviewing people. I see you talking about yourself. What the show is about is everything to do with vets. It's curtailed and geared towards the veteran. It doesn't always have to be me interviewing a person like yourself. It could just be talking about veteran things. It could be talking about ways to deal with things. It could be talking about dealing with the situations at home that maybe you don't know how to get through. And that's why I'm hoping maybe they listen and kind of help them out a little bit.
Yeah. Community resources also. I mean,
yeah,
I think we've mentioned a lot of things in the community that can help vets out.
Believe it or not, there's a lot of people and a lot of things out there, almost in every county that I know of. We've had a few guests on here that deal with the VA. So there's a guy named Anthony Johnson. He works out there at the VA facility.
AJ.
AJ.
Right across from Burleson High. Him and Ben, they're out there. If you're a veteran and you need any type of help with your claims or a representative, stop by and talk to them. If you walk in the front doors there to the courthouse, you just go straight to the right, and there's a door you open, and it goes right in, and AJ and Ben are both there.
Okay, so I just want to mention that if you're a veteran right now who's listening, or a veteran who's watching this now or watching it later, I just want to mention, and if you're going through some things, I just want to mention that there is a phone number you can call. A lot of veterans don't know this. The number is 988. Okay, you literally grab your phone and you type in 988, and then you'll be connected to a live person. And actually, I don't know if they're live right away. I believe you got to press 1 because they have different kinds of people you want to talk to. Because in case you're dealing marital issues, depression, suicidal, they
Yeah.
have numbers. Number one is the most priority one. That's the one where you're a veteran and you're in dire need of talking to somebody right now because you feel like you want to, you know, take yourself out of this world. So 988, press 1 and you'll be connected to a real person and they'll talk you through ways to deal with depression, PTSD, anxiety, and other issues that you're going through. They can help you. They're basically like a bridge to where you need to go. So if you're having marital problems, for example, they can take you to somebody that helps you possibly dealing with the outcome of a divorce or a divorce that's possibly coming, adultery, depression,
Loss of a job,
loss of a job, death in the family. That's a big one. Some
financial
people,
woes. I think that's the
oh,
number one thing besides
man, I tell you what,
divorce, financial woes.
no, they can't give you the money you need, but they will help you find ways to help you gain that money that you're short of. Okay, they can help you with addiction, which is a big one. If you're an addict, addict, and you love the alcohol, you love that wine, or you love that drug, you're addicted to something, gambling, pornography, whatever it is, they can help you out on this website, and that number is 988. Just wanted to mention that to you. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about depression, anxiety, and ways to deal with things like PTSD. And Bobby here is going to discuss how the VA can help you with that. I know VA. A lot of people have some good stories. A lot of good people have bad stories, and it all depends on who you are. Because sometimes some people like myself, I've never had an issue with the VA, and other people have had issues with the VA where they get declined for stuff that they clearly have.
Yeah.
So, okay, so Bobby, how many people would you say a year that you know of in the military would come to you or personally or call you and say, "Hey, man, I'm dealing with some shit. Help me."
There's been several over the years. I'm not going to say the year because just in the last I'm going to say right before Christmas, there's been 7 people that have killed themselves that I am either connected to. One of my good friends served with them. 7. Now you just take that into consideration. That's bigger than a fire team. That's 7. That's 7 people that should not have died, but felt that they got to a point in their life where there was no help, no hope, no chance of relief. So they just took the easy way out and they just ate a bullet, and it left devastation. I mean, I'm still watching it on Facebook, and I'm only on Facebook because all my military friends are on there. I don't subscribe to all the political bullshit on there, even though I do like to poke the bear sometimes, but
stir the pot.
Oh yeah, big time. But for the most part, I just like to stay in contact with my fellow veterans that I've served with in all the different units. But I'm still seeing the fallout from these suicides, and it's almost like a snowball effect because there was 1, and then all of a sudden there were 3, and then there were 4, and then there were 6, and then the 7th came, and it was all within like a 3 or 4 week period. And it seemed like it was all geared around the holiday season. And when you take into consideration just how emotional the time frame becomes between Halloween and the end of January, that is the golden months.
It is
right there
because those where a lot of families get together and they do things. They go trick-or-treating, Thanksgiving, Christmas.
Yeah. And if you don't have family or your family doesn't come or you just went through a divorce, you don't get to see your kids, or you're still missing your ex-wife or ex-husband, or you're wanting to murder your ex-wife or ex-husband. The thing is that that is the time when the most emotions start to come out. You don't see somebody getting super suicidal on the 4th of July. I mean, there's a few, but for the most part, those are happier times.
They are.
The summertime and the early spring, those are happier times. Whereas it's cold, it's damp, it's drizzly, it's, earlier days, the sun goes down earlier, and, you sit in your house alone and you open that bottle of Jack and you start drinking. And then what do we always call it in the military? Liquid courage.
That's it.
Because it gives you courage to do shit
really
you
does.
would never, ever do.
You have these little
you
guys,
talk
these
to girls
5-foot
that
guys
you would
talking.
never talk to. You have guys that would never jump off a building into a river that's, 30 feet high. but they do it. You got guys that would never drink and drive, but they do it. You got guys that would never hit a woman, but then they do it.
Yep.
You got guys that would never put a gun in their mouth or slit their wrist, but then they do it.
They do it.
And it's the lowering of inhibitions. I mean, you've got to take into consideration with the way the military is and the way when you go to boot camp, and every boot camp, whether the time frame or the branches, that's neither here nor there. The thing is that they break you down and then everybody's at the same level. And then they build you back up to what they need you to be able to go out into combat or do your job or, you know, work 7 days a week for a year without
not one day off.
Yeah. Or getting rank or whatever. Now, I mean, we've got to take, we've also got to look at the fact that the military probably is the most time off you'll ever take, because there hasn't been a year when I was in, and I was in for just over 24. There hasn't been a year that I was in the military that we didn't have at least 26 72s or 96-hour vacations, you know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's half of the year. We got one of those or both of those days off.
I believe it.
It was ridiculous. And we go to the field and we'd get some units don't, but we got like a whole week off for being in the field for like 3 weeks or a month or whatever. So there's a lot of time off. But I know I'm jumping around a lot. So if you guys will just take some time to follow me on this. You also have to take into consideration when you're in the barracks as an nothing, right? You live in the barracks, you got one roommate, 3 roommates, whatever it is, you know,
possibly
there's one to 4 people living in
depending
that room.
on where you're stationed.
Yeah.
Some stations you got your own room. It doesn't matter if you're E1 or not.
Yeah. So you have that camaraderie in the barracks. You guys get off work. You guys go eat lunch or go eat dinner. You guys eat lunch together. You guys eat breakfast together. You guys go out into town or go on, scuba diving ventures or go out to beer festivals or whatever on the weekend together. You guys get off work, you eat, you come home, you play video games in your room, and everybody's there, and you're dipping Copenhagen and drinking beers or whatever, and you go to bed. And then when inspections come, everybody's helping each other to get their bunks just perfect and their uniforms right in their, wall lockers. And when it comes to when you're going on humps or marches, or when you're doing any type of field exercises, or you're doing field day in the barracks, on a Thursday night, everybody is chipping in to help everybody else. And you might do the head, and that guy might do the room, and then another guy's going to strip the deck in the hallway, and the other guy's going to wax it. So then when you get out of the military, this is something my wife and I are really having a problem with, is that the civilian sector, they just don't give a fuck about anybody but themselves. I mean, these civilian neighbors we have at our new neighborhood, 99% of them are just fucking selfish assholes who want to use you for what they can use you for and fucking dump you out.
That's it.
So my wife and I are both veterans. So you look at that camaraderie you have, that ability to depend on at least one, but more than likely a couple of handfuls of people on a daily basis. And then that goes out the window. So then what happens when you go through some type of hardship in your life? What happens when you go through a divorce, or your wife cheats on you, your girlfriend leaves you, and moves away, or you lose your job, or your car breaks down, or you just don't have enough money to make rent this month, or your kids don't ever want to see you? Who do you turn to? And, I see so many vets put on Facebook and, Instagram and all these other online things that I'd much rather you call me and talk to me than you to, not to be here. And I would say most of those people are pretty legit. Most of those people on there, you might not even know them. And then if you call them at 2:00 in the morning or text them at 2:00 in the morning, they'll sit there and listen to you. And then you got the ones that just put that on there because it's their status and they just want to
makes them sound cool.
Yeah, but those are the ones you couldn't rely on in the military.
That's not
anyway.
me. I'm the first guy.
Yeah. I'm definitely that first guy too.
I'll get random phone numbers from people that I don't even know, and then all of a sudden it's one of my old army buddies who contacted me through Facebook.
Yeah,
he's like, I've been going through stuff. What'd you do? How'd you deal with this? How'd you deal with this? And I told him exactly what I went through. And I didn't put myself in their shoes because I've been there. All I told them is what I experienced and how I got out of it. And that's what today's show is about. We're going to discuss ways that you can get out of things like depression and especially anxiety, I used to have really bad anxiety when I first got out of the military.
I still do. I
Oh,
have anxiety, and
man.
I'm moderately depressed, but it doesn't have to do anything to do with my love life or my home life.
Me neither.
It has the fact to do with my inability to fix my wife's problems. And I'm not saying she has problems, but
I just
there are circumstances that are going on right now that when you start picking up, you start getting into a situation where you are a leader, and you see somebody going through something and you don't have that ability to fix it. It it depresses you. It puts you in a funk. I mean, it, it's man, it's really hard to get into, but when you are trained and designed and molded and groomed into a person in the military to think quick on your feet, solve the problems, and get moving on, and make sure that your troops below you are all just
it.
fine. And then you get in a situation in your household where you're trying to fix a problem. And it's not in our household, but you're trying to fix a problem. And what happens when that problem comes around and you don't have any control? You cannot, there's nothing you can do. You literally cannot do anything. You just stand there. And I mean, I listen
That's
to
it.
her, but
Get anxious.
but we're working on her VA claim right now, and that's my frustrating thing, is because I know the process. I've helped so many people get their VA claims put in. I mean, I know it like the back of my hand, inside and out. And it just seems like we keep coming up against a brick wall. And I keep coming, and we crawl over that brick wall, and we come to the next brick wall, and then damn, there's another brick wall. And we keep knocking these walls down. And it seems like there's just an endless amount of walls, just one right after the next. And as we get through it, we feel a sense of accomplishment, but then we feel a sense of
Another one
defeat.
just starts building back
Yeah.
up again.
It's
I
like when you're in a firefight for 36 hours or 12 hours,
Yeah.
whatever the firefight, 3 hours, 3 minutes feels like 5 hours over there. But and then you get done and you're like, oh my God, we got to collect the wounded. We got to start treating. We got to start doing this, blah, blah, blah. We got to start, checking how much ammo we have. We got to make sure that we have enough rations. And then another firefight starts and you're like, fuck my life.
Yeah.
Here we go again. And then you're in it for another 12 hours and you don't even know how much ammo you had because you didn't even have time to do an ammo count or get a resupply or anything,
Yeah. So getting back to what we were talking about, that's a good, thank you. We're talking about anxiety. I actually can remember the first time I actually got anxiety, and I was in Iraq. There was some kind of incident was going on, and they started telling all these Iraqis that there's a shortage of gasoline, or the gas stations were going to be running out. All of a sudden, our unit was forced to pretty much set off a perimeter at every gas station in this little town. And literally, we were mobbed by hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these Iraqi people. We don't know what's going on, if any of them is going to pull out a weapon, if one of them is going to self blow up, you know what I mean, commit suicide. We didn't know. And that really hits you hard when you're dealing with people that could potentially kill you. So now you're doing this day in, day out for months on end. Then you come back to the States. And I remember the first week I was here, I remember going to, I don't know, maybe a Red Lobster or maybe a Long John Silver's or something like that. And I remember being in the waiting line. They tell you, hey, okay, it'll be 15 minutes. Then we wait. There were so many people there that night. I just felt like I felt like I was back in Iraq again.
Yeah.
It's because it's only been 2-3 months. And I felt like I was being swarmed by all these people, even though I knew mentally that none of them will ever pull out a gun, pull out a knife, or blow themselves up at this location. I still felt anxious. I still felt like I was being swarmed by the same exact people. So then eventually you just kind of walk out and you're outside just breathing like, you're like, oh my God, what's happening right now? And yeah, and that's all because of one incident that kept kind of redoing itself over and over again. I also understand about the stress, making sure your soldiers come home okay.
Yeah.
Because that was my biggest thing, was making sure none of them ever did anything stupid to get themselves killed. Now, hypothetically, I was prepared. If somebody sniped me or one of my fellow brothers in arms, I would understand that. Because it's not in my control. But if it's something that they did, I kind of blame myself, because I should have told them, not to do that. I should have been there to tell them, hey, don't do that. Don't do it this way. Do it this way. But that guy didn't get the opportunity to, because all my guys were great. All my guys made it home. All the deployments that I went through, they all made it good. Now I can't say that about all the men in my units, because some of them sadly did pass away. and also I got involved with some stuff that even now I actually am more traumatized from the anxiety issues or the depression, which is very undiagnosed. I've been told many times to I know when I'm going through depression. I just never went to a psychologist and they said, yeah, you got depression. I know I have depression. I don't need a doctor to tell me. I know I get depressed. I'm away from my family in New Jersey. I've been away from them since 99. I rarely ever see them. I go there maybe once, twice, maybe every 2, 3 years, 4 years, sometimes even longer than that. And I never get to see them, and I see their stuff on Facebook, social media, where they're having family get-togethers, and it's stuff that I miss.
Yeah.
And what you were talking about, Christmas time. Usually Christmas time, around Thanksgiving to Christmas is usually when I start feeling the most depressed.
Well, see, a lot of people don't know that, listen to your show. You've got a really great outlet that most people don't. They don't afford themselves, or they don't have. You have the outlet of being able to sit down and write and have your mind be consumed by.
That's literally that's why I do it.
Yeah. That you by the next story, the next movie, the next production, the next screenplay.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's a lot of veterans that play guitar, and write songs and, kind of have a small band or just do it, it's therapeutic. Yeah. There's veterans that paint. There's veterans that, do woodworking. I know a lot of veterans that do woodworking.
I know a lot of them that go shooting.
Yeah.
That gets their anxiety, their depression away by shooting.
Yeah. But I think that's the self-therapy that's not talked about enough. Like, you were mentioning to me this guy that has a cabin down by Bailey Lake that lets people come out and he teaches them how to fly fish and stuff.
Actually, a matter of fact, is right here. We had one of my previous guests here. His name is Joshua Gillespie. He's a former Marine who eventually became an Army guy. But anyway, but anyway, he was telling me, hey, there's a program out there by Lake Bailey where it's a nonprofit. And I was like, what are you talking about? He said, yeah, it's called Veterans Fly Fishing. It's at Whitney Lake. Sorry, excuse me.
Not Bailey Lake. Whitney Lake.
Not Bailey Lake.
Bailey Lake is over where I live. It's
it's not even
barely
close.
Any fish in there.
Whitney Lake, yeah, they have a cabin on, and pretty much it's nonprofit. They help you go fly fishing, kind of get your mind at ease. It's really nice. He sent me some photos, really nice. And then basically they let you stay in this cabin, pretty much like I guess Airbnb for free.
If any of you guys out there are listening and you want something to do, and be able to go
Google
out there
it
and get some therapy. If you can't find it, contact Angelo here, and he will get you in contact with the guy who's in charge of it.
I appreciate it, Josh, for sending me this link. This is something I would actually be very, very interested in doing, actually, as a matter of fact. I guess the man in charge his name is Jeff Guinn, Guinn. Jeff, never heard of him. I guess I'll have to Google him. When I get done here.
What's the link you have on your phone?
He never actually sent me a link. He just kind of showed me photos and just gave me maybe he did. I don't know. Let me check. So I get a lot of messages on Facebook. I mean, I get people sending me screenplays and movie ideas.
Yeah, of course, because they all want to
be
be rich and famous.
Yeah, I do. I don't do it because I want to be rich and famous. I do it because, like you said,
it's therapeutic.
It's very therapeutic, and I love doing it. And also the fact
I brought it up.
When I have my cousin Alfonso Henrique, who's out there in Hollywood, meaning smack dab. When I went to visit him, he's literally right there by the Walk of Fame,
Poor soul.
The Chinese Man's Theater, all of the, all of that homelessness out there. He sees it every day, but he's out there doing it, man. He's knocking it out of the park. He's writing screenplays. Yeah. He's on TV shows. He's doing things that I didn't think that he would be able to do, first of all, because we were both veterans. It's hard for veterans to get jobs out there. But then when he started doing it, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start doing it. So me and him started writing together. Now, we don't actually write stuff together. He writes his own things. I write my own things. I film my own things. He fills his own thing. He does, we all do our separate things, but eventually we share each other's work, and then he'll go, yeah, this is fantastic. It's going to be, a hit at the box office. And I'll say, no. Then I'll improve it. And then I'll improve it some more. Eventually you'll have like 30 different drafts of one screenplay, but it's all because I want to get my mind away from things, and I'm glad I found somebody in my life, Summer, who is pretty much my wife. She's people like, she's not your wife. She's common law married. It's like, yeah, that's literally what she is. She's my common law wife, except she's not common. She's a one of a kind law wife. and she's special. You know, I love that woman to death, and I feel deep down that she has helped me to kind of get out of that, because she knows when I get in that mode. She knows when I'm feeling depressed because I'm quiet. I don't say anything, because that's how I deal with this. Some people are angry. I'm more of a quiet guy.
Yeah.
I won't say anything. I'll just stick to my room, my computer room, and I'll write or I'll draw. I'll do something, just kind of staying busy, because my mind is going through stuff. I'll start thinking about my friends that got killed. You know, I start thinking about the stuff I did over there that I'm not proud of, but I know I had to do it.
Yeah.
Stuff that I have never told my family. I'm just kind of dealing it with it on my own. And the VA knows what I've been through. My back surgeries, all the back surgeries. I've had back surgeries my family don't even know about, where they took out discs and put this artificial titanium plates in there. I mean, it's pretty crazy. It's gotten to the point to where I can't even exercise, because even if I spend 2 minutes exercising, now lifting weights is different.
Yeah.
I can do that. But when it involves anything to do with cardio, anything involves picking up, I can't do it, just because my back starts hurting, especially when weather changes from hot to cold or cold to hot. I already know I'm going to be hurting. I will literally walk like an old man, like a 9-year-old
Like
man.
I was walking today.
And I walk like that every time the weather changes. It's like, okay, hey, it's 78, 80 degrees out. And all of a sudden the news says, hey, there's going to be a weather change. You know, you're going to have a cold front. I'm like, shit. I already know what's happening. Sure enough, 2 days later, I wake up and my back is tighter than anything, that I can imagine. And I'm walking like an old man. Of course, then I thank God that we have such things as Tylenol and ibuprofen and other little chemicals to try to help you, make you feel a little better.
Exactly.
So,
it's I think there's a lot of veterans out there that are probably like me in this fact that when you're in and you're over in a combat zone, or you're in garrison, or you're in a training, atmosphere, but mostly like when we were overseas, all those deployments I did.
It was 26, right? 26 deployments.
Yeah, I wish. I don't wish.
You've been on a lot of deployments, man.
6. 6, yeah. The thing is that I'm calm, I'm collected,
I'm
laid back, easygoing. I wasn't that guy that would run around crazy in, battlefield or was, scared. I mean, everybody's scared, but I was super focused. And then when I get back here, I can tell you that the little bit of anything just sets me off, like drivers or neighbors or
absolutely,
or people in HEB or whatever.
Typical Texans.
Like my anxiety and depression is for the dumbasses that are here that can't freaking function in their life, their own damn life. Over there, that was a cakewalk for me. Yeah. Like I was that guy that could have stayed in for the rest of my life and I would have been perfectly fine.
Yeah. So our first half of the show, we're talking about things that we're kind of dealing with, things that we've kind of experienced ourselves. The second half, we're going to be talking to Bobby about how the VA and other places can kind of help you deal. And we're going to have a little bit of we have a lot of commentary today, unbelievably.
Word.
And so we're going to talk to these people. My name is Angelo Rocha. I'm here with Bobby Riley, and this is Vet for Vets. And stay tuned for the second half. Thank you.
Why have thousands of aspiring authors teamed up with Christian Faith Publishing to publish their book? Because Christian Faith Publishing is an author-friendly publisher who understands that your labor is more than just a book. We provide authors freedom and flexibility throughout the publishing process, professional book editing, award-winning design, and some of the highest royalty structures in the publishing industry. And as always, you will retain 100% of the rights to your book.
I was looking to find a company that I could trust, one that assisted in the editing process completely.
The most important qualities that I was looking for was a publisher who was honest and upfront, no hidden costs or fees, and owning the rights to my own work.
Christian Faith Publishing will publish, market, and sell your books in all major bookstores, online booksellers, as well as specialty Christian bookstores. Call for your free author submission kit.
800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. That's 800-978-4812.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
Out-of-date carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleburne, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleburne, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give them a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered.
Fixing to listen to Nightly News with Walter.
It does sound like that. Tiffany did such a good job.
She did
picking that.
This is the Nightly News with Walter Cronkite.
This is 2020.
20, there we go, 2020.
Dateline NBC.
Yep. 60 minutes.
Hi, everybody. My name is Angelo Rocha. Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is Vet for Vets, a show where we take in Johnson County's pretty much best people, which are veterans. Not really.
I'm going to second that. Yes, Johnson County's best
I don't know,
peoples.
man. I know a lot of police officers here in Johnson County that are pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So, and firemen too. You know, quite a few of those, and a lot of single ones. Believe it or not, there's a lot of single female friends of mine that I know who would love to they would love to date one of these cops, one of these firemen. But anyway, I digress. We're gonna go ahead and talk.
This isn't the Angelo dating hour.
This isn't Vets for Vets dating. Anyway, okay. So let me discuss a little something here. Okay, Tiffany, who was gracious enough to let me do this show, wants me to tell you that Joco Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 24/7 on the TuneIn Radio Network. TuneInJoco.com is the place to find all the ways to listen and watch, and the station app is absolutely for free. It's actually free. Yeah, just go to your Android or Apple, and it's free. Anyway, it is free on all Android and Apple devices. Simply search your store. Check out our lineup and more at the JocoCommunityRadio.com/tune-in. Okay, and pretty much and also, this show is brought to you by Patriot Claims, making your insurance work for you. Reach out to your Texas sales rep at 844-TEX-HAIL. It makes me sound very country. Hail.
Yeah,
anyway,
you're very country.
That's 844-839-4245. Once again, that's 844-839-4245. And also, be sure to dress your arms and more at thetiffy.com. This is Tiffany's actual website, and it's got some really little cool things like for women.
For girls, though, right?
Yeah, for most of it. But the thing is, if you go to that website, if you think about, okay, I need to get my wife a little gift for her birthday or anniversary coming up, her website is perfect for it. It's got little things that are awesome. So check that out. So I've been doing this for a while now. At least I think I have. And I've met quite a few veterans. There's a lot of them that I had to sadly turn down because they either didn't possess the right amount of vocabulary, I guess you can call it that, because I usually like to interview people before. So that way I can kind of like when I interview or when you and I sat down, I was kind of listening to you, make sure you weren't one of those guys that said, a lot or like, which is some people do. And some of their stories are still good though. I would love to bring them on if they just learned how to be more radio oriented, but they're not. And some of the stories that these people have, it's really heartbreaking. I have quite a few friends, not only in the military that committed suicide, but actual classmates of mine that I went to high school with who also committed suicide.
Yeah.
Quite a few of them, as a matter of fact, like to the point where it's kind of disturbing. And most of them were all because of marital, problems, not financial or drug addiction, just because some of them, their wife came up to them one day and said, I want a divorce. And then not only on top of that, then they said, I'm taking your kid or kids. That's going to make a person break down, and on this second half of Vet for Vets, we're going to discuss ways we can kind of cope with that. because I've been through it myself. It's not that my ex-wife came up to me and said, "Hey, I want a divorce." We mutually agreed it's time for us to be divorced because we're unhappy. That's the way it should be, but not all relationships end like that. A lot of relationships, you think it's fine, and all of a sudden there's a knock on the bedroom door. The wife comes in or husband comes in. "Hey, I want a divorce," or "Hey, I had an affair," or "Hey, I'm taking your kids," or "Hey, whatever it is. And a lot of veterans don't know how to deal with that stuff because a lot of them are under the assumption that they're going to be married for life. So it's kind of all of a sudden that intimacy is gone, the relationship between your kid is gone, and it's tough. You've been through a divorce.
Yeah.
I've been through a divorce. Mine was very tough at first, but it's gotten to the point where me and my ex-wife Brandy are actually pretty civil. Every time I get my daughter, we hug each other, and I tell her, we did great as parents with our daughter.
Yeah.
As much as we used to fight all the time, as much as we argued, as much as words were thrown around back in the day, I always want what's best for her. A lot of veterans don't feel the same way like I do, and there are a lot of veterans who make up and find ways to deal with their depression, to deal with their divorce problems. And then there's a lot of guys that don't know how to deal with it. And those are usually the ones that end up being on that stat, the 22 a day.
Yeah.
What do you know about the 22 a day? What do you know about that?
What do you mean? What do I know about that?
Well, tell us a little bit about it. So people that are listening in that possibly don't know about the 22 a day.
Well, it's 22 veterans kill themselves a day.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a movement that has been sort of blasted the last several years and supported by people like Gary Sinise, the famous actor.
Yep.
And, Tunnel for Towers and Wounded Warriors and a lot of these other organizations and, Toby Keith and some of these others that Mark Wahlberg that have basically brought to light the fact that every day, almost every hour, a veteran kills themselves. And so they're trying to stop that. They're trying to bring awareness so that the people that don't know what the veteran's going through will be able to step in, intervene, maybe buy that veteran a few days so that they can seek the help that they need.
Yeah. So now 22 a day. And
you can, if you want to donate, you can donate to the I think it's 22aday.org or something like that.
Yeah, I'll have to get that website because I want to make sure these people know. And there are websites as well that can get you funding to get help, because not the VA can't help you everywhere. The VA can't give you every single thing that you need when it involves your mental issues. Sometimes you kind of have to take it upon yourself to go and find somebody to talk to. Personally, I've been approached many times through person-to-person interaction or through social media, through a simple phone call where they call in telling me that they're going through something. And I'll sit down and I'll talk to them for hours and hours and hours, just discussing ways for them to feel better.
If you guys want to go in and look, there's of course, if you go to www.veteranscrisisline.net. That's basically the 988 number, but you can get onto it online and you can access it through your online, through your phone or your computer. And then there's the Veterans Military the www.militaryveteranproject.org, and that is a 22 a day movement advocacy website. Then there's the mission, it's https //mission22.com. That's the National Veteran Nonprofit Organization for the 22 a day. And then this is a newer one that I'm familiar with. It's 22 a day. It's tilvalhallaproject.com, and you can go to that. And it's having to deal with the veteran suicide and raising money to help these vets out. There's a whole bunch more on here. I mean, you can get on here literally and
the love is there.
The
love is there for
there's
these
so
veterans.
much on here. There's mentalhealth.va.gov. There's 9line Apparel. They sell shirts that go to the 22 a day.
Yeah.
So there's all these programs that help raise that money so that the veterans can get the treatment they need. And I can tell you from personal experience that it's never been really difficult. In fact, it's been beyond easy for me to get all the proper care I need. However, that's not the same for my wife.
Yeah.
That's part of our struggle right now, is that we are trying to get the VA to recognize what she was injured in the military with, and to give her proper treatment. That's all we want. Is
you guys have told me what it is,
yeah.
but we're not going to discuss because she's not here. I'd rather if she wants to one day, she can discuss it.
But the thing is that the VA out there, you have to be persistent, and you can't just go to the VA one time and say, look, I had this happen to me, blah, 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 blah. Where's your documentation? Oh, I don't have it with me. And expect to get them to give you compensation and treatment, because to get the proper treatment, they need to recognize it. So they need to give you the compensation and the rating for whatever it is, whether it's tinnitus, whether it's a broken leg, whether it's, like me being blown up by a mortar, being shot, losing a limb, losing eyesight, whatever it may be, the VA there's a process by it, and you have to go and you have to put your paperwork in stating that you have this disability and that you want the VA to recognize it. Then you have to go through a CMP, which is a compensation and pension. Once you go through the compensation and pension appointment, where the doctor comes in and he evaluates you
they record you on camera.
For whatever it is, then they decide whether that's VA related. And here's the key point that most people don't realize, and this is something I wanted to talk about today. Your documentation is paramount. So if this is something that you never went to medical for, you never talked to anybody for, there is no notes, no documentation in your medical record, then it's going to be that much harder for you to get that as a compensation, because the VA is going to automatically ask for a release of records. You have to sign that, and then they send off to St. Louis to the archives and get your records, unless you have a copy of that, which most veterans should. And then you turn that whole copy into the VA, so they don't have to, wait 6 months for the archives to send that copy back. Once they go through that, then they can say, okay, there's 14 pages in here of documentation that this person, hurt their back, getting blown out of the back of a Humvee, or this person was shot, or whatever. So when I was injured, I was going through my rehabilitation at Balboa in San Diego. And before I even left Balboa in 2010, the HM1 there took me over to the VA portion at Balboa. And I have a 1.5 medical records that are, one of them's this thick and one of them's this thick, just from my injuries. All the, having to go through
all the
facial reconstruction, having to learn to walk again, having to have the shrapnel removed from my body, having to have my broken jaw fixed, all this other stuff, and so they put it in the system before I even left active duty back, left Balboa, that area there, and came to come back home. And so mine was an automatic sort of thing where I was pushed through. But a lot of veterans, they don't know the process, or if they do, they were seeing at medical once for a ingrown toenail, and that has nothing to do with their knee being blown out. But that's where the VA takes so long, is because they want to make sure that to be honest with you, they want to make sure they fucking get the bullshit out of there, and the people who are trying to get compensation and never were hurt. I can personally tell you of at least a half a dozen people that I know that were not hurt in the military and are getting 100% disability right now. And it's bullshit, because it makes everybody else that deserves to get that disability, because they were hurt and now they wake up with knee pain or back pain, or they, lost their memory, or they can't see out of one eye or something. But those people should have the supporting documentation.
I agree.
And no, I mean, I'm saying they
should.
It should be in their records. If they were legitimately hurt, there should be documentation in there. And what gums up the system and what makes everything go so much slower is that those are those people that are lying about their disabilities, because they were only in for 3 years and they never got injured, but they think that they just don't want to work anymore, so they're going to get 100%, and they're not.
That's the biggest issue with VA right now, is them trying to figure out who's lying.
The VA is trying to sort the bullshit.
Oh no,
from
they're going out there. They send out representatives that stay outside they stay outside somewhere and they watch you. People that claim to be 100% disabled who are not supposed to be working. They're not supposed to be helped at all with anything. They're on their own, and they're out there watching these people.
Yeah, of course.
Roofing their own houses, building walls. They're building parts of their house, and they're watching. And all of a sudden, they get caught with fraud, and then they got to pay all that money back.
Yeah.
The VA sends you.
So
to court.
there's two purposes of this. There's two categories. There's if you get your disability, and I'm bringing this up because we had discussions with gentlemen in the VA there in Fort Worth and in Dallas that were pissed off because their disabilities were getting reduced. So for all of you guys out there that are either have disabilities or trying to get disabilities, understand that when you put in for your disability, you go through your compensation and pension. They say, yes, you have this disability, whether it's sleep apnea or fucking tinnitus or PTSD or whatever it may be. If they don't rank that total and permanent, then that total and permanent disability rating is that's what keeps you for having it for forever. Total and permanent. That means that, my traumatic brain injury is never going to go away. It's never going to get better. I'm only going to slowly, gradually get worse.
Yeah, Julie will attest to that. It's
definitely. So these guys that are getting their disabilities backed up a little bit is ones that don't have total and permanent. So you can have a disability rating that's not total and permanent. And then if you go in and it shows that your disability is getting better, because you can't be disabled and then just never go to the VA again. No, the purpose is to get treatment at the VA. The purpose is to become however high you can get, 90%, 100%. And the VA covers those treatments for that particular thing. If you have a blown out knee, they cover your knee surgeries and your therapy to, physical therapy to walk again and stuff. That doesn't cover dental, unless you're 100%, but so there's parts of it that you still might owe unless you're 100% total and permanent. Yeah. And people don't understand that. People don't understand that total and permanent means that disability is now and forever. Your disability rating will never go down. But if you're at 100%, it won't ever go up. Yeah. You just continuously get care through the VA for that injury. Not, I got, I lost a toe, or I got a shrapnel in my calf, so I get all this free medical care. That's not how that works. No. Labs, x-rays, that's covered. But things, like you go in and you have a back injury that was never documented and it's not a compensation and pension rated injury, then the VA could charge your insurance or could charge you for that.
Yep.
And so that's kind of what I wanted, because we were talking to people that there's two different aspects to this. And if you do have an injury that you got in combat or in training or in garrison or whatever, that is never going to get better. You broke your femur or your tib fib or something, and you had to have plates put in. That's something that's never going to get better. Those plates are never coming out.
Yeah.
So that's something that would be a total and permanent. And whether it's 30% total and permanent, that doesn't mean that everything else is total and permanent.
Yeah.
So those are things that you have to understand when you're going through this process. Make sure that if it is an injury that is total and permanent, then that is stated, but don't expect every injury to be total and permanent, and don't expect the VA to just constantly pay you if whatever it was that you got injured with gets better.
That's right.
Because I've seen veterans that go through therapy that their injuries get better.
They do.
And then there's veterans that, that are pretty foobarred that don't ever get better.
Yeah.
They may stay the same or get gradually worse, but they don't really ever get better.
No.
I know that was a long explanation, but
no, that's actually really good. Hopefully people are inside. I guess, did you hear about this push? Because I was reading it the other day. There's this push for Congress to push. They're pushing it right now, where veterans, they're basically getting a little bit of a leeway when it comes to their occupation, because there are veterans who aren't 100% disabled who are able to work. The problem is they still have the injuries that they sustained in the military. And a lot of these veterans take psychedelics, marijuana. They take things that, whatever you want to call it, I guess the those drugs to help you.
The herbal remedies,
Yeah, the
and
herbal
basically
remedies and
the holistic medicine.
and
Basically,
Congress is trying to push to where veterans are going to be allowed to, if you're a veteran, if say you have a job, as long as you don't drive under the influence, people are going to, these jobs, they're trying to, because, you know, a lot of these veterans, they get fired because they start a job, but because they take these psychedelics, not because they want to, it's because this what helps their back pain, their you know, their shrapnel wounds.
Well, but so here's the thing, though, is you've got to take into consideration that if you have a medical marijuana card that's prescribed by a doctor,
it has to be the state where you're in.
Yeah, it has to be the state you're in.
I know.
It can't be some.
But they're trying to make it a national level.
Yeah.
The Congress is trying to make it to where it's a national thing, to where every state, a veteran will have a card.
But you still have to go to a doctor and get that
I know,
card.
I know.
So it doesn't change the fact that.
But you'll probably get it. I think, I mean, if I went to a doctor, even though I've never done drugs, but if I've gone to a doctor and say, hey, look, I deal with drugs all the time. I'm taking 4 or 5 pills of, ibuprofen, naproxen, Tylenol every single day, Advil, whatever. I'm sure they'll probably like, okay, if I take just 1 tablet of whatever shrooms, and if it was allowed in Texas, which it's not, I should be okay from being fired from my company if I do it at a moderate level to where it's not affecting my work performance, but it does get rid of the pain. You know, and it'd be nice, but the thing is,
there's a lot of red.
And they're trying.
That's real gray.
How are you going to get to work? How are you going to get to work?
That's real gray, though. I'm sorry, but if you're so fucked up that you have to take mushrooms and be
psychedelics,
blown out of your fucking mind,
yeah,
then you're going to be in a non-work status. I'm sorry. That's my opinion, and we can still be friends and not agree with it. But
I understand that. No, I completely agree with you.
The VA doesn't, and probably won't in the near future, prescribe anything from the government.
As long as if it's
not
illegal,
gonna,
they won't give it.
Yeah, no, but I don't see the VA in the near future or in the moderate near future ever prescribing marijuana. But they'll tell you, hey, look, you can go out in town, you can see your personal doctor, and you can get a medical marijuana card.
Yeah.
But the VA, I don't want one. I've never done drugs. I never will, except for prescription like Percocet or whatever. But then we get into the gray area of Percocet, like your doctor gives you Percocet or Percodan or Oxycontin or Oxycodone or whatever they may be. Those are opioids. And you're saying that it's okay to take those and be operating heavy machinery when it says no. So exactly.
I tell you what, I know they're trying to push.
So you're not supposed to drive a vehicle on that.
You're not supposed to, because you'll be driving under the influence. And if you get pulled over, that's when it becomes a
whether
problem.
Whether you have a prescription from a doctor or not.
Yeah.
Right
you
now,
should not be driving.
you get caught on Percocet or Percodan or Oxycontin or any of those while you're driving, you're getting a DUI.
Probably getting arrested.
Yeah, you're probably getting arrested.
You're putting lives in danger.
So, I mean, I see people in Burleson driving around all the time, smoking bowls in their car, can't even stay in the lanes. I mean, they're so fucking high out of their brains.
Texting.
That's them, but I don't agree with it. I don't think you should be operating a motor vehicle when you're smashed.
I agree.
On marijuana,
that's why
Percocet, or anything.
That's why it's called DUIs.
Even if the VA came in and started prescribing marijuana or whatever, I still don't think it's going to change the fact that you still have to be clear and sober to go to most jobs. I mean, if you're working at fucking Dollar Tree, checking somebody out or stalking, then they might be okay with it. But if you're driving a forklift somewhere,
oh my God,
you're going to be piss tested. So
you know what? I bet you there's somebody out there right now who
operating trains.
I'm sure there's somebody that's driving the locomotive, that's driving a forklift, that probably is,
driving a semi-trailer for a fucking Walmart.
Psychedelics.
Yep.
The reason I brought that up is because we have a couple of people that were listening in. I've never seen these people before. Their names, I don't know. I've never heard of them, but there's one person, his name is George Brown. He said PTSD, depression, anxiety are really hard to deal with. If you need a permanent solution to that using psychedelic healing, get in touch with and Spores. Never heard of it. I'm gonna have to Google that, even though I don't plan on ever getting it.
You sure this is not somebody just spamming this?
It's possible.
Broadcast.
It's possible. Then there's a Jennifer Mark. When it comes to PTSD, depression, trauma, anxiety, ADHD, and OCD are really hard to deal with. And once again, talks about and Spores Instagram. She's one of the best therapists I've ever met. This one, Danielle Ashley said, microdosing psilocybin, whatever that means, chocolate bars is really effective for PTSD when you microdose. With microdosing,
that's the active ingredient in mushrooms.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the
Yeah,
active ingredient.
once
That's a
again,
psychedelic.
Zara spores, whatever that means. It has to be some kind of
Somebody's
spam.
spamming your account. That's
Or,
gotta
no- or
be.
maybe it's not. Maybe they're actual people that just deal with this and spores.
That'd be great if they could call in.
And then of course
We could talk to them.
And then Tiffany said, replying to Danielle Ashley, I just had this conversation with somebody yesterday. We talk about, and then your wife got on here a little bit. Julie's on here. She said, we talked about this yesterday. I love you, Bobby, my awesome husband.
Yay, I win.
You are an awesome husband and awesome good friend too. Okay. Tiffany said that we love our veterans and first responders. I agree.
We do.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Tiffany.
I think I
Thank you, Tiff.
I do not, when I say veterans, I do not, in my mind, discern between veterans and fire and police and paramedics. To me, I think it's all just one giant group.
Yeah.
Because
people helping
just
people.
because they're serving the community doesn't mean that that's any less than us serving overseas.
Yeah.
I
think
lump it
I
into
think it's just
one
as dangerous.
service.
I
Yeah.
think it's just as dangerous.
Worse.
Oh my God.
I would much rather be in the military than a cop.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, some of these cops just getting ambushed and murdered and shit.
I know, for no reason.
For no reason. Yeah.
I know. I don't know of any soldier that was doing it while I was in the military in garrison having that happen to him.
I mean, there are several that
In
we've
Iraq?
heard of. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And deployment. I'm talking about just regular station.
No.
Fort Sill, Fort Riley, wherever you decide, Fort Hood. I
If
never heard of anything like that.
If it did happen, there are instances, and probably some of these people listening can say, oh yeah, I heard about, so-and-so getting pissed off because his wife was fucking so-and-so, and they go to their base housing and shoot him in the head or something. But that's different. That's, that's dealing with marital problems, but that's not just some random dude getting on base and going and killing you.
Yeah.
I mean, and the police, they're just getting ambushed and murdered. And I think
New
Year's Eve,
they were just giving it a bad rap. That's all it is.
New Year's Eve, those 3 cops in New York got attacked by that dude with the machete.
Yeah.
I mean, guns are not we can talk about this the next time. Guns are not the problem, because if you're going to kill somebody, you just sharpen a stick and stab them. I mean,
yeah, you've heard of the 90-10 rule, right?
Yeah.
I think I've talked to you about this, the 90-10 rule. In case you're listening in and you're just now listening right before my show, which is very disappointing, there's a 90-10 rule. There's 90% of most crafts and jobs will always have good people. 10% are bad. Every job. Basically, police officers, 90% are good, 10% are bad. School teachers, 9% are good, 10% are bad. Soldiers, 90% are good, 10% are bad. But then you get to lawyers. 10% are good, 90% are bad. Anyway, it was a joke. Anyway, thank you for joining me and Bobby. Bobby, you've been fantastic, man.
Hey, until next time, buddy.
You should be my co-host and just do this full time. Anyway, love you guys. Have a good night. And this was Bet for Vets.
You guys have a good evening.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, Joco Community Radio.
Here's important new information from the Diabetes Solution Center for you, a family member, or a loved one suffering with diabetes. If you have lost your provider, or if you need a provider for diabetic supplies, you may qualify to receive your diabetic testing supplies now with little or no out-of-pocket cost, regardless of your age. All you need is Medicare or private insurance to be potentially eligible. Call the Diabetes Solution Center right now for details. Just takes a couple of minutes. Our friendly, knowledgeable agents will give you free, no obligation information, handle all the insurance paperwork, and make sure your supplies are delivered directly to your door for free.
Call U.S. Medical Supply 24 hours a day. 800